Hey, this is Tuan Aditya from Lighthaven. Today we're going to be looking at the training methodologies of BJJ versus Kali, specifically for self-defense or a street fight sort of situation. This is a follow-up to last week's video where we looked at the training methodologies between the two arts. So have a look at that video before you look at this video. I'm going to link it down below. Just off the bat, I want to make one thing clear for all the BJJ fanboys out there. I am also a BJJ fanboy. In my opinion, I do think that grappling arts, wrestling, jiu-jitsu does produce better fighters because of the active style of training that is incorporated, whether you're rolling or drilling or whatever. That active sort of training makes better fighters because you learn how to work these things against active resistance. However, there are a couple of things that, again, not all gyms do this, but there are a couple of things that can be detrimental when it comes to self-defense or a street fight or anything that happens outside of a controlled environment, right? One of those things is getting overly comfortable with working from our back. Now, I'm a pretty small guy. I'm always the smallest person in class, and I spend a lot of time on my back, right, from whichever position. There are a couple of things that we need to understand about how we differentiate between maybe a sports type fight and a street fight or self-defense altercation. In the ring, I know who I'm fighting, I know how many people I'm fighting, I know how they're armed, I know what the rule set is, I know how much time we have to fight in, I know what the space we are fighting in, I know how close help is, I know I have all the variables under control except what happens in the fight against my opponent. Everything else I know. On the street, I know none of this. I don't know the kind of surface I'm fighting on. The space that I'm fighting on may be unfamiliar to me. I don't know how he's armed. I may not know how many people I'm fighting. I don't know how close help is. There are all of these things. There are no rules. All of these variables are not in my control anymore, right? So as soon as I start doing things like, let's say, working, he's here. You can leave the knife for now. I'm in this guard position, and I could have reached here in any number of ways. Maybe I got sucker punched, and I'm down on the ground, and he's trying to rain blows down on me. And from here, I'm trying to work to guard and looking to control posture. So at least I'm not getting hit as much anymore. This is fine. The issue comes in where my priority, because again we're talking about self-defense. We're talking about fighting on the street. To win an encounter like this, my objective is not to beat him up. My objective is to go home safely, right? And however I end up doing that, in order to do that, I need to be able to walk away or run away. The longer I spend in this position, right, working for an armbar, or working for a triangle, or working for whatever, even if I get this, I still have to account for all the other things that can go wrong. Let's say he is armed, and I am in this triangle, and I'm trying to squeeze, and of course he's fighting me, and suddenly that knife comes into play, right? Or let's say, even the size, just a sheer size difference. He's not letting me work that triangle. Maybe he starts picking me up. Maybe he starts wheeling on me with that other hand. A whole bunch of stuff. Maybe there are other people involved. Maybe while I'm fighting with him on my back, I'm trying to triangle him, someone comes and stomps my head in from behind me. There are times when I will have to be on my back. Again, like I said, I could have come here. Maybe he's taken me down, he's thrown me, he's sucker punched me, whatever. I've ended up on my back. And there are things that BJJ has that will help a lot, especially when it comes to controlling his posture, controlling his position. But the emphasis over here, what I need to be able to do or working towards doing, hi Luna, is more than looking for a submission from guard, is looking for either an escape or looking for a sweep so that I can be on top. If I'm on top, either now I can strike on my own or I can work my way back to my feet. That's a really, really, really important thing, focus that I need to have. Not to stay on my back, but to work. I can work from my back to control him, but then my objective needs to be either to be on top or to get back to my feet and not to submit him from there. Next comes the specific use of weapons and improvised weapons. Now in Filipino martial arts, in Kali, we are trained to expect that our opponent is armed. This is something that this is a mentality that you go into a situation with. Now, the reason why that's important is, unlike, again, if it's just sparring or if it's a fight in the ring, I don't necessarily have time to move about with this, right? Because at any point of time, he can be drawing that weapon, whatever that weapon may be. I need to be able to finish this encounter, either diffuse it and disengage, or fight to a position of dominance so I can get away as quickly as possible, and as effectively and as offensively, strongly, I don't think that's a word, but as offensively as I can. From the beginning, we are taught that the same way I use the stick is the same way that I use the knife, it's the same way that I use a pen, it's the same way that I would use any improvised weapons. We are taught to look around us for these weapons of opportunity. And when I'm in a bad position, again, just having the awareness to pick up something that may help me equalize the size difference, because he has a huge size and strength and weight advantage, and if I can pick anything up that's going to help me level up the playing field even a little bit, then that's going to help me a lot. I want to say again, and I want to stress again, that the training methodology of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or Muay Thai or any of these so-called martial sports arts produce some incredible fighters, produce the best fighters, because you have that active sort of training where you have someone actually punching you, where you have someone giving you resistance and you're working against that resistance. However, and again, this is not every school and every place. There are enough places that train in a way that's going to be effective against multiple opponents, that's going to be effective in the street, on any sort of surface. However, a lot of other places do not necessarily stress on the differences that you encounter when you go out of a controlled training environment and onto the street where we have no control over any of the variables. And this is where Kali shines, especially when you add weapons in there. This is where Kali shines. We understand, or we seek to understand, the differences in range and timing when a weapon is involved. Let's say Akshay has his left leg forward and Akshay just jabs, gives me a jab, right? Again, Akshay jabs. I can parry pretty close to myself. I can parry quite close to me. In fact, I prefer parrying here than if I'm then parrying somewhere here that he might then pull back and go for a hook or counter in some other way. So I can leave that parry pretty late and move my head as well. However, so again, if I'm parrying here and Akshay puts a weapon in his hand, puts a weapon in this hand, and I parry at the same distance with the weapon is too close to me. And again, if he goes the same way and I'm parrying too late, it's already too late for me to parry with the weapon in his hand. So the timing of that parry, the timing of me checking his arm has to change. Let's say Akshay is now slashing me. I cannot wait till here to parry the way I would with a punch. I now have to parry earlier or jam earlier. And that, again, it depends on, right now Akshay is being cooperative with me and giving me a big slash, but even the tighter the slash is, I need to be able to parry a little bit earlier, and I need to move my feet a little bit more, because when we are, especially at this range, I can guarantee you that if Akshay goes fast at this range, it's going to be very hard for me to parry successfully 9 or 10 times out of 10. I'm going to get cut a lot more than you would assume that you would get cut. Again, there's something that I recommend you can try. You can have a partner be one arm length distance away and have him just cut you as fast as he can, and see how many times you can parry that or jam that. See your success rate. You might be surprised as to, and if he's really trying to reach you, not if he's doing this, you might be surprised as to how low that success rate actually is. So I also need to be understanding that aspect, again, through pressure testing, what we talked about in the previous video, and implement some sort of footwork strategies too. So when he's slashing, I'm not only parrying earlier, but I'm also moving back a little bit more to make me some more space, to give me some more room to screw up if I have screwed the parry, or some more room to maneuver. Or, here's the flip side. Because I'm also spending time working with that weapon, I understand that each weapon has its own attributes. And I understand that a knife at this range is very dangerous. A knife at every range is very dangerous, but specifically when we're talking about the context of us fighting, it's more dangerous, it's most dangerous when it has the ability to move around. because the knife can, even if it's just stabbing, it can move quite fast, and if it's moving around slashing, it can move very unpredictably all over the place. So if the knife has room to move, or if he has room to frame against me, hold on to me, and then pepper me, it's obviously a really bad place for me to be in. The more I can isolate this arm, the closer I am to his body, the more I've isolated this arm, the better it is for me. So the flip side is that, because again I know this with the knife, even though I just said that I need to step back, I know that this may not be the best solution to keep going back, because his knife has so much room to move, and he's going to start using this hand to grab me, punch me, do all sorts of things. Even if I have to step back off that first one, I know I may need to step in right after that to control that hand. So dealing with weapons is has its own problems and issues, timing and range, and understanding is an edge weapon or is an impact weapon, understanding how to control it, all of these kind of things. As soon as mobility is really important when dealing with a weapon. As soon as I go to the ground and I can no longer move about, I am especially vulnerable to a knife, especially with somebody in a more dominant, in a better position. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked what you saw, if you learned from what you saw, please do like and share this video. Please do subscribe to the channel. It means a lot to all of us. If you have anything to add to the discussion, leave that in the comments down below. If you have any questions or requests for future videos, please also leave that in the comments down below. A huge thank you to all of our patrons. Thank you so much for your support. If you'd like to know more about our Patreon page, check out the link I'm going to leave in the description down below. Lastly, our online classes are up and running. Our residential program is up and running. So to train with us, check out the email address I'm going to leave in the link down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you, Akshay, for assisting me, and see you in the next video.